Post-structuralism as a theoretical approach follows from structuralism but diverges significantly in its view of meaning and knowledge. While structuralism sought to identify the underlying structures that shape culture and knowledge, post-structuralism moves beyond these certainties, questioning the very foundations on which structures and meanings are built. This shift marks a move away from rigid structuralist ideas toward a more fluid understanding that embraces ambiguity and complexity. This is one reason why post-structuralism is often discussed after structuralism in academic courses. It challenges and critiques the structures that structuralism tried to establish, making it both a continuation and a critique of structuralism. The term post in post-structuralism implies both after and beyond, signaling that while post-structuralism absorbs some ideas from structuralism, it also critiques and seeks to transform those ideas. This critique is not merely a rejection or a negative criticism. In philosophical terms, a critique involves uncovering the assumptions that support a theory and examining the ways in which these assumptions shape the theory's conclusions. Post-structuralism thus reveals and reconsiders the assumptions of structuralism, especially the idea of stable structures underlying meaning. One aspect that post-structuralism interrogates is the concept of knowledge itself. In structuralism, knowledge and meaning could be uncovered as if they existed as objective truths, waiting to be discovered. However, post-structuralism views knowledge as something constructed rather than discovered, and this constructed nature of knowledge implies that what we consider true is often shaped by interpretations and perspectives. These interpretations, in turn, are influenced by power dynamics, raising questions about whose interpretation gets accepted as truth. This view draws from ideas in epistemology, that is, the study of knowledge, and asks fundamental questions about the origins, boundaries, and status of knowledge. When we consider truth from a post-structuralist perspective, we find that it becomes difficult to uphold the idea of a single universal truth accessible to all. Instead, truth is seen as a construct that varies based on different interpretations. For example, knowledge may be seen as justified belief. That a belief becomes knowledge only when it is justified within a particular framework. But post-structuralism goes further by suggesting that even this justification is subject to the influences of interpretation and power. Knowledge in post-structuralism is not about true discovery, but about the construction of interpretations. This means that we do not encounter truth in an objective form. Instead, we engage with interpretations shaped by language, culture, and power relations. Post-structuralism thus undermines the idea of objective discoveries and instead foregrounds interpretation as a core component of knowledge. Here, reality is not presented as a single truth, but rather as data open to various interpretations. This approach further problematizes the concept of universal truth. In the post-structuralist framework, concepts like truth, knowledge, and even meaning are inseparable from power. A statement like knowledge is power takes on new implications within post-structuralism. Knowledge is not merely empowering because it is true, it becomes powerful because it is shaped by power relations that determine which interpretations come to be accepted as true. Post-structuralism also challenges the structuralist view of meaning as stable and relational within an organized system. While structuralism claims that meaning arises from relationships within a network of signs, post-structuralism extends this theory, pushing it to an extreme where meaning itself becomes unstable and dependent on shifting interpretations. Meaning, rather than being fixed by structures, is seen as open to continuous reinterpretation. This framework aligns with the theories of key post-structuralist thinkers who emphasize that meaning is never entirely stable or absolute. It is always deferred, ambiguous, and influenced by context. Derrida introduced the idea of deferred meaning, suggesting that meaning is never fixed or final. Instead, it is always delayed or postponed. Deferred in this context means that understanding is always put off, as signs, like words, never fully capture a single, stable meaning. Each sign holds traces of other related signs, meaning our interpretation constantly shifts as we recognize these connections. For example, the word cat is understood not only as a creature but also in relation to dog, which it is not. Derrida coined the term difference to capture this idea, a play on the French words to differ and to defer. Difference implies that meaning both rises through differences and is endlessly deferred, leading to a kind of infinite verb where each sign points to others rather than a final concept. Foucault reoriented this perspective by focusing on how meaning is regulated by power. He argues that rather than being endlessly deferred, meaning and knowledge are controlled by discourses, structured ways of talking about and understanding topics. Discourses shape how we think, label, and understand the world, creating categories that feel natural but are in fact socially constructed. For example, different discourses such as religion, biology, and economics each offer distinct perspectives on human nature. In Foucault's view, whichever discourse holds authority in a given context has the power to define reality for its subjects. Therefore, both Derrida's difference and Foucault's discourse theory contribute to post-structuralist thought by showing how meaning is both relational and contingent. Derrida reveals the endless deferral of meaning through science, while Foucault shows how power consolidates certain discourses, ultimately shaping how subjects understand themselves and the world around them. Following Foucault's ideas, post-structuralist perspectives see identity as unstable and fluid. Foucault's concept of discourse reflects this as well, showing how specific ways of speaking within social structures create and control subjects, shaping our identities in regulated ways. This view opposes the traditional idea of a fixed identity, suggesting instead that identity can be continually reinvented through self-reflection and interaction with various discourses. Foucault problematizes the concept of truth, viewing it as a linguistic construction tied to power structures. Truth is not objective. Instead, it emerges from language games and is interwoven with power dynamics as illustrated in Foucault's power knowledge theory. Derrida's idea of difference further supports this by suggesting that meaning is never stable and is endlessly deferred, emphasizing the instability and subjectivity of